Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. We're here for the UEFA Champions League group stage draw. It is a live watch-along. I've got Chris and Callum with me. For this one, the draw is just about to get underway, but there's no doubt UEFA will make a meal of it, as they always do. I had a look back at last year's watch-along for the draw, and it was nearly 2 hours and 50 minutes. So no idea how long we'll be with you tonight, but looking forward to it and excited for the draw. Lots to talk about in terms of transfers as well. 2 transfers confirmed in the last sort of 24 hours, and rumours about some more as well. So plenty for me and the boys to talk about. Chris, we'll start with you. Having not been on so far this season, not the best start to the campaign, but what have you thought so far?
Well, hold on, Paul. Just 1 second before I share my thoughts. Since we're on live, we can have fun. That's what I think. Brand new. Thanks very much for having me back on, Paul. No, seriously, super excited for the draw today. A bit more excited than I am about how we've started this season. That's for sure. It's been a bit of a slow burn, to say the least. Obviously, first day of the season, good win at home, good win away to Pataudry, and then obviously since then 2 really sort of poor performances away to Kilmarnock and then at home against St Johnstone. So not really how we would have envisioned the season starting, getting knocked out of the cup in the round of 16, the League Cup that is, and then obviously dropping points at home to the bottom place team in the league. So I guess the way to look at it is, as a glass half full Celtic fan, as I've always been, is the only way is up. And you know what? I'm hoping that another good week of training and just the week leading up to a derby game is always massive, but splattered right in the middle is this Champions League draw, right, to see who we're going to play in the group stages, and obviously getting a bigger share of the pot of money because we'll be the only team in Scotland in it, because Rangers were found out yesterday with a 5-1 smashing against PSV, which was nice. But I'm just hoping we show up on Sunday. I really don't know how the game will go, and I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit about that. But I would say the biggest thing I've noticed is the speed of our play has to improve, right? Movement on and off the ball, the amount of time we're taking to make decisions with the ball. It's not that we don't have the quality. I think it's just they haven't really adapted fully yet to Brendan's system, which is different from Ange's. We know that. But history tells us that he can get the job done. And I think everyone just needs to relax. And even if we lose the game on Sunday, which we'll all be disappointed about, there is a long, long way to go in a 38-game season. So, I'm not going to be pushing any panic buttons if the result isn't what we want on Sunday.
Yeah, Callum, a big week, a lot happening with the closing of the transfer window tomorrow, this draw tonight, the derby at the weekend against the backdrop of an underwhelming start to the season. In terms of the Champions League campaign, we were obviously massively excited to be back in it after a 5-year absence last season. It was tough. We got 2 points from the 6 games, the 2 draws against Shakhtar. How do you feel coming into this season? I think it's really difficult to be optimistic, given how we're playing at the minute. But as Chris says, early days, and we've got to hope these signings that we're bringing in can settle the team.
It's going to be hard, mate. It's going to be very difficult. As we seen last night, PSV financially aren't miles away for Rangers. Yeah, Rangers get absolutely scudded. So that just shows you the quality that's in Europe and what we're going to be up against. Realistically, it's a bit of fun. If we're honest, the Champions League's a bit of fun. A couple of away trips. It's not much more than that now, the way the finances are working around Europe and how the finances in Scotland restrict us from actually beating most teams across Europe. So it's really tough. But look, you just go into it and hope that you get a good draw. You hope that you get a decent pot 1 team. Feyenoord, Benfica, one of the 2 will do me happily. But it's just going to be difficult. But it's an exciting week, and that's why you're at Celtic to have these type of weeks.
Chris, it's still exciting. Looking at the pots, which are going along the bottom of the screen now. Pot 1 and pot 2 are just fraught with danger, aren't they? There's so many big teams in there that you would be concerned about us coming up against at the best of times. How do you feel coming into this campaign? The context last season of the performances was good. I think people were generally quite satisfied with how we competed, but we passed up a lot of chances and we didn't just have that killer instinct in those group stage games. So how do you feel this campaign? You're on mute.
Sorry, I had myself muted because I was clicking my mouse in the background and I didn't want to be making a noise. Sorry, what I was saying, Paul, was if Ange was still here, right, I think I'd feel very different going into this Champions League campaign with him at the helm. Not because Brendan Rodgers can't and isn't a great manager, but Ange would have been building on his second season with the core group of players in terms of his system in the Champions League. We did play very, very well at numerous times last year, Paul, but, killer instinct, a little bit of naivety, I guess, and a lack of experience at this level for a lot of those players was probably the telltale sign. I think if you look at the core 11 that played last year, probably only Joe Hart and Callum McGregor had significant Champions League experience. So you put that up against the budget that we were going up against with, the teams that we played. It's massive, right? I mean, my dad sent me a text message yesterday. He was like 7-3 over 2 legs. Like, how are you ever going to close the gap? I mean, my dad's a Dundee fan, so his days of enjoying European football are long over. But, his point's well made. It's like, it's so hard to compete. So I think for me, going into this year, I would say maybe I had a lot more expectation last year, maybe false expectation about how we might perform in the group in terms of where we would finish. I was really happy with how we performed in probably 4 of the 6 games. I thought we played well enough to take points in more than 2 of the games. But at this level, you have to take your chances. That's number one. And you're going to have to defend better. Based on where we are with injuries, I'm not going to use them as an excuse, but it's a fact. Our available centre-back pairing is not the strongest that would be available if everyone was fit and healthy. And I think we're just lacking a little bit of confidence right now. But in terms of the spectacle, the experience of watching Champions League football, like when I lived back in Scotland and being able to attend the group games, there's just nothing like it. It's absolutely amazing. I never had the chance to visit an away ground for the Champions League, but I think I sat through 9 home games over the years I went to Celtic Park. And as you know, when we did our top 5, I was at the Juventus, 4-3 game. Like, that was just absolutely ridiculous. And it's for a fan, it's just an amazing experience. Of course, we all want to compete. We'd all love to make it out of the group stages, but reality is it's not going to happen. For me, if we can get a reasonable pot 1, pot 2 draw and a favourable pot 3 draw, and if we finished 3rd and had European football beyond Christmas and could win a knockout tie, that is what I'm looking for as a Celtic fan. It's just to progress. But I'm with Callum. It's about the experience, right? It's just, there's nothing quite like it.
Yeah, Callum's just dropped for a minute. He's switching devices. He'll be back with us just shortly.
Yeah.
I think that's the bar, isn't it? If we could finish 3rd, it'd be a great achievement. And then we want to get that monkey off our back in terms of not having won a knockout tie in Europe after Christmas for such a long time. So
20 years.
Yeah, that is a long time, and we all want the club to push on and try and progress in a European context. We've been so dominant domestically. We've won so many trebles, we've won so many league titles. But I think for a lot of supporters, we want to see the club push itself a wee bit more on the European stage. I think that's what's behind a lot of the agitation around recruitment and trying to get better, given the strong financial position the club is in. Chris, it looks like the formalities might be about to get underway, although you never know, especially when you're trying to watch and present at the same time. Eric Abidal and Joe Cole are on the stage. This is the time where I tell you, if you're watching with us, it's obviously live, you can ask questions. We'll try and pick out some good ones, but also if you want to find out from us and not from your TV or the actual UEFA stream that you're watching, then try and refrain from putting the teams in the chat before I've watched it here on this side. Right, Callum's back with us.
Sorry, boys.
Not a problem. So, Callum, it looks like it's about to get underway. They'll obviously draw the pot one teams first. Eric Abidal and Joe Cole on the stage at the minute. Who jumps out at you for pot one, Callum, in terms of, prestige, honour, visiting their stadium? Because obviously there's not many teams in pot one that you would fancy a go at in terms of the level. Although, having said that, Sevilla are in there, had a bad start to the season. Feyenoord are in there as well. So, what do you think?
Probably the number one football iconic arena to go to in the whole group of pot one is Napoli. It's got to be. I mean, what a place that would be to go there and just see that type of atmosphere. You see it all the time in the telly, and when that Champions League anthem goes, and at the end they all shout the champion. Just an unbelievable place to watch football. So that's really my top one. I mean, I don't know how safe it is, to be fair, going over, but that's another debate. But if it was down to that, for me, it would be Napoli. Teams that you probably want to avoid are probably Man City right now. It is probably the team you do want to avoid. The best team scenario has got to be Feyenoord for the size of the club and how they're in pot one is unbelievable, because they're by far the weakest side. Benfica, difficult because they can still sign people like Di Maria that on their day would batter us at times. So that's a really difficult one as well, but it still wouldn't be a one that would faze me too much. Would have a much better chance. So I probably, for prestige wise, I'd want Napoli in pot one. You've had the likes. I certainly do not want Barcelona. No, and I think they're
not even playing at Nou Camp, are they?
No, so if I stand corrected, I think they're playing at a stadium that's only got maybe a capacity of like 13 to 20,000, somewhere in that bracket. It's quite small. So that wouldn't even be a great trip at all to go to. So I definitely want to avoid Barcelona.
Still Barcelona, but what a place.
I know, but even if you get a win there, it wouldn't even be real. It wouldn't count. So, maybe I'm just being picky. I don't know. Maybe I am.
I would count if we played in the public park.
Nah, that is true.
I think pot two, Chris, there's a few big names that jump out in pot two. I mean, record time winners Real Madrid are in pot two, who we all wanted last season, and we got them. I think on the basis of Sevilla winning the Europa League, Barcelona winning La Liga has obviously shifted Real Madrid into pot two, which is crazy, really, given their history in the competition, how many times they've won it. You always expect them to be pot one. Pot two has so many big teams in it. It's been a while since we faced a team from England. Man United and Arsenal are both in pot two. I wouldn't mind that, by the way.
What did I say in our private group chat yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know what everybody thinks in the comments, but I wouldn't mind a wee trip down south.
I said I felt very confident we're going to get an English team this time around. I said that in our group chat yesterday. I feel like we'll get one of them. I mean, in terms of a trip, I mean, obviously going to Madrid and seeing Atletico would be, going back to Madrid, in back-to-back years, but obviously a different side would be pretty incredible.
Plenty of needle between us and Atletico Madrid as well.
Exactly. Fantastic history, and the way they've respected us, and what they did for Billy McNeil and his family. And
that's Bilbao.
Oh, it's Bilbao. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, I mean, but even still, just like the history between the clubs, like you say, is long standing. So that would obviously be a fantastic trip. And even going to Portugal and Porto, and our obviously history going back to the UEFA Cup final in 2003. So, but like in terms of teams that we might be able to compete against in that pot, I mean, it's probably a small list, to be honest. I mean, those are some pretty good sides. I mean, I see people commenting that they fancy Man United. Oh, well, okay, careful what you wish for. I mean, they've got a pretty fantastic squad. If you just look at their buying power versus ours, it puts it into perspective.
Aye, I think sometimes when you sit down for these draws and you get excited at the prospect of facing these teams, you try and convince yourself of ways in your head that we can try and take points off them. But the reality is often very different, Callum. The team for me in pot 2, if it's not to be an English team, is Dortmund. I'd love to go to Dortmund. I was lucky enough to do all 6 group stage games last season, and the away trips were brilliant. But I'd already been to Leipzig in the Europa League and went again last season. But I would love to go back to Germany, and this time for it to be Dortmund.
Aye, Dortmund would be a brilliant an away day, to be fair, and a full stadium. For me, there is a couple in there. Again, do you want the glamour or do you want the easiest possible team? The easiest team probably in pot 2 is Porto. I'd probably agree with that. I think you kind of want to avoid some of the bigger teams in it, especially Real Madrid. I mean, I love Real Madrid and I'd love to go back, but that just makes it just uncomfortable. And it makes the season actually in Scotland harder because you've got that trip away to Real Madrid and then you're away to Livingston. You don't really want to be doing that, especially if you get a hard team like a Man City. Imagine getting Man City, Real Madrid. No, look, I've just jinxed and that's what's happening. I'm actually just watching the draw to the sides.
Hate to cut across you, mate. But first ball's out. So Bayern Munich are the first team out, and they're in Group A. This is obviously the formalities of this are going to take a bit of time. They have to go through all 8 of the first groups before they start taking shape. But Bayern Munich are out. We played them back in 2018. That was my first European away trip. What a stadium that is. I wouldn't mind going back there, but again, it's one you want to avoid because of the strength of Bayern Munich. Sevilla are next out. I think they'll go into Group B. They've just gone through the process of explaining all the intricacies of the TV broadcasting deals and the same country protection, and it's not long before it starts to get complicated and a team comes out and you think they go in the next group and they don't because there's so many overlaps in terms of these rules and these broadcasting setups. So Napoli are next out. They're in Group C. Chris will let this go on. I'm sure most people are keeping tabs on it as well. It's pot 2 where it really starts to take shape. But for you, if we move on to pot 3, that's the pot where you think, realistically, you want somebody in there that you can maybe get a victory over at Celtic Park and try and finish third. That is what the group is likely to boil down to. And there maybe is 1 or 2 teams in there that if we get our act together and start performing, you think at Celtic Park, we should be able to get a result from them.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, on the surface, I would think I thought we played Shakhtar Donetsk really well last year. Across the 2 games, they're still a very strong side, obviously. Copenhagen as well could be a good tie for us. I definitely don't want Milan or Salzburg or Lazio. I mean, obviously we had the fantastic experience against Lazio in the Europa League under Neil Lennon, winning in Italy for the first time in a tie. And I'm not sure how you pronounce, is it Crvena Zvezda?
Red Star Belgrade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about them, so I wouldn't like to say that could be a quote-unquote easier tie, but I would imagine their budget is probably similar to ours, so that could ideally be the tie you want.
Not a nice place to go, that.
Right. That's the thing. In terms of like your experience, in terms of an away fan, I mean, obviously any of the Italian teams would be fantastic. So
are they still playing in the San Siro? They're still playing in the San Siro, aren't they?
So I was going to say to you, Paul, that's still one city you really want to go to. So, AC Milan from pot 2 or Inter from pot 3 gives you, or the other way around, sorry, gives you your trip to the San Siro.
I have never been to San Siro, and it was supposed to be getting knocked down. I think they've even pushed it back now. But I really wouldn't mind that. And pot 3, Copenhagen, I'd like to get revenge on them for putting us at the the Europa League that year under Lennon, when it looked like we really had good command of the tie. It was gutting to lose that one. If you're with us, please hit the like button below. That will help YouTube bring more people in. The more we can get on the stream watching the draw with us as Celtic come out, the better. Callum, pot 3 for you. MD in there. Obviously, I always think when you come to the Champions League draws, you don't want to get a team that you had last season. So I could do without Shakhtar again.
Most likely, to be fair, right? Maybe I'm just being biased because we're all Celtic fans. We want to do best, but realistically, looking at that, Celtic should be comfortable if they get Shakhtar. And I know they beat us last time in the group because they get that win against Leipzig. But Shakhtar, Salzburg, Braga, Red Star, Copenhagen. There's 5 teams in that Celtic, I think, should be able to finish above and get that 3rd spot finish, depending on whether you get a group where you've got, for example, Feyenoord in pot 1, and then, for example, you might get somebody, the weakest team in pot 2, then Celtic have a real chance of maybe getting to the last 16. Maybe that's a bit crazy to say. I'm not sure. Somebody might clip it in a couple of months' time and Celtic might be bottom or they could be sitting second. Who knows? But there is some really... If Celtic were to get Feyenoord, Porto and Braga, are you telling me Celtic shouldn't be aiming for 2nd spot? To push that, Celtic are in and around those clubs. Financial-wise, Porto and Braga are probably a little bit higher than us, but not massive, where the gap should be so big. So looking at that could be an avenue. But then again, you might get hit with Man City, Real Madrid, and then you could get hit with somebody quite hard in the group. So probably most likely Copenhagen.
Yeah, I agree. First team for pot 2 are Dortmund. They're about to be allocated a group. They obviously can't get into Group A with Bayern Munich. Coming from the Bundesliga as well. So Eric Abidal's about to pick out the group that Dortmund will go in. Keep an eye on this one because this is one I would like. Going to end up going into Man City or something, isn't he?
Please be Feyenoord. Feyenoord and Dortmund.
Paris Saint-Germain.
Group F. Yeah, they're in with PSG. I don't want Dortmund anymore. All of a sudden, I don't want Dortmund anymore.
Yeah, I think we're all still haunted by the PSG ties from a few years ago.
To be fair, but PSG are a mess. They are a mess. Like, obviously, they're still a very fantastic side. They've got Mbappe, which is just he can win games on his own, but they're nowhere near the powerhouse they were a couple of seasons ago when we played them. Took 7 of us. So I'm not saying that you've got a chance at it, but they're just not. I don't think they're anywhere as near glamorous as any of the bigger teams, like your pot 1 teams like Bayern Munich's and Man City's. I don't think they're anywhere near as glamorous as that.
Yeah. So Arsenal are next out. They can go basically everywhere, apart from Man City's group. Abidal's just about to open it. They're really going to start to take shape now. So Group B, Arsenal are in Group B with Sevilla. Last year's Europa League winners, Arsenal are back in the competition for the first time in, I think, 10 years or something like that. They've had quite a big absence for the Champions League, Arsenal. So they're in with Sevilla in Group B. That's all right. Wouldn't mind that. Atletico Madrid are out next. Atletico Madrid.
So they obviously can't go in pot H.
Yeah.
They can't obviously go into B either because that's where Arsenal went. So
yeah, so there's only 2 options for Atletico Madrid. Tension. This was like last year. Just wait till the tension when Celtic are about to come out.
Group E with Feyenoord.
Group E with Feyenoord, right? Sorry, Cameron, you go.
And I was going to say before this point, last year, I was lucky enough to go to Celtic Park to see the draw. I was just enjoying my dinner, having like a lot of nice 3-course meal, soups and all that, enjoying it. Wasn't even looking at the draw until I got to the airport.
You spoke to some new signings as well, didn't you? That'll be the case today as well.
Aye.
We've not got anyone there right now because we're...
Although Martin did post you a message asking if he can still go. He's passing by in 15 minutes, he said.
Did he?
Yeah,
he can.
In our group, yeah.
He can.
Let's put on live TV. This is how we roll.
This is it. I'm sure this is absolutely riveting viewing, by the way. Manchester United are out next. Chris, once Man United's group's been confirmed, I'll get some thoughts on you on the new signings and how you think the business is going this week and how much more we need to do before that window closes. Obviously, given the form and given the injuries, there's been a lot of cries for 3, 4, 5 players in this week. Man United are in with
just
Bayern
went
Munich.
into Bayern Munich's group, by the way.
So Man United are in with Bayern Munich.
Okay, so Group A just became the group of death. I can tell you that right now. And in terms of the signings, Paul, look, I think, you know what, Nat Taylor was needed in terms of some emergency cover at centre-back. No doubt about that. He's obviously not played a lot of first-team football, but I think that's a seasoned pro, if you like, that could certainly come in and do a job for us. And you never know. Maybe that turns out to be a fantastic signing and he enjoys it and we extend him to the end of the season, you know, at the January window. But there was no doubt we did need some cover there. You know, the Honduran winger, Palma, I'm excited about him. I think that could turn out to be a really good signing. Attacking one-on-one is a free kick specialist. That's somebody I would say we've not really had a true free kick specialist since Nakamura left, like somebody that's a true dead ball specialist. It's very interesting to see how he fits in because I think Abada looks like he's going to commit to the club long term, which is huge, right? And there's a fantastic player in there, no doubt. And you know, so if that turns out to be the case, you know, Maeda I love for his work ethic and everything else, but his end product I still find to be frustrating at times. And obviously Jota, arguably outside of Kyogo, our best player last year, right? Fantastic, scores big goals in big games. And I would really like to see, you know, someone really push Maeda. I think in terms of what we still need, I see people asking about more midfielders. I'm not sure that's the answer. I think if Hatate, O'Reilly, and McGregor are all healthy, I feel like that's your middle three. Another striker would be great. So for me, it's like left back, striker are the two biggest things that we need to address. And I see a lot of people asking for a goalkeeper, but I mean, is Segrist ever going to get a chance to prove himself? I mean, I feel bad for him. Like obviously Joe Hart, let's be honest, Joe Hart played well on the weekend. Like he made 2 huge saves in the second half against St. Johnstone. Arguably, we could have lost that game 1-0, even with all of our dominance. So I'll reserve judgment still on whether I think Joe Hart needs to be replaced. But Taylor is really struggling under Brendan Rodgers' system, no doubt.
Yeah,
Bernabé is still a work in progress. So a left back. What are you? I'm not looking. So something's clearly just happening over here. Let's see.
Pot two is finished. So Porto have joined Barcelona. Real Madrid have joined Napoli. Benfica.
Wow.
Joined Inter Milan. So Madrid and Napoli.
Pots A and C can just take.
That's going to be it. That's our group. I guarantee we get hot with Madrid and Napoli.
Okay, Callum. Recently, when you've been saying things, they've turned out not to be. You've been jinxing yourself. So I'm going to go with that premise that you keep saying that, and we'll avoid it.
I hope so, because that is a tough group. There is some ones that in there that are quite not easy, but are much more favourable. I mean, the Porto one looks decent. Porto Barcelona. I don't think it's not absolutely fear, and it's not going, oh my god, we're going to get mauled. Who was the other one I just seen there? I can't even see now because it's on different.
Group D is Benfica and Inter.
Benfica and Milan.
That's it. Benfica and Inter Milan's not a massive scare either. Those are 2 groups that if we went into it, I definitely wouldn't think we're right up against it. We have a slim chance. We have a slim chance no matter what group we go into, unless it's the group of death and you get 0 chance.
Yeah, pot A and D are the ones we need to avoid. Like that's just the short one of it.
Real Madrid and Napoli are just
forget it.
I mean, if you're talking of pinnacle of European football, they 2 are right up there. Currently, right now, to be fair.
So Man City Also got Leipzig in Group G. First team out of pot 3, Shakhtar Donetsk.
Why do they always get Man City and Leipzig? I feel always like get each other.
Always, mate.
That'll be a really poor group, right? That'll be the poorest group. You'll get Man City, you'll get Leipzig, then you'll get somebody like Red Star and Copenhagen or something. You'll get a really poor group like that.
Feyenoord and Atletico Madrid in Group E as well.
Again, that's not massively worrying.
Not on the surface.
I don't mind that in terms of trips, in terms of, Rotterdam and Madrid. Don't mind that at all. Sevilla, Arsenal in Group B as well.
So Shakhtar have gone with Barcelona and Porto.
So Shakhtar.
That's not a bad group.
Barcelona, Porto. This is where it really starts to take shape in terms for Celtic, because you look at pots 2 and 3 and what is the mix. The pots 2 and 3 in terms of, do you think it's teams we could try and get something off, particularly at home? A combination of Porto and Shakhtar, given how we performed against Shakhtar last season, particularly, would give you some hope. It's certainly not the most frightening group available for us. So Red Star, Belgrade are out now. We're about to find out what group they go into. Group F is that. That's not where they're going yet, by the way, but Group F is the PSG Dortmund group. So that one, even though it sounds like nice trips, is a bit daunting in terms of the level of the opponents. So let's see where Red Star Belgrade.
Hands are sweating.
They went
just
to
wait to
Group
pot
G.
4.
Yeah.
Just you wait to pot 4. Group G. So they are in with Man City and Leipzig. So Red Star Belgrade,
God.
Leipzig and Man City in Group G. Apart from the fact I don't want to go to Leipzig again.
But it's not. It's not.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
It's not a massive.
It's a wee trip down
challenge.
the road. Next out, PSV. Some team name.
Loved that last night. Just going to put it out there. Absolutely loved it.
They were excellent. Their midfield's excellent, isn't it?
Sangare and Veerman are very good. But do you know the most frustrating part of it?
Sangare's getting linked with Nottingham Forest today.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Can you imagine if PSV get in Real Madrid?
Steroids.
That would be savage. Oh, they got Sevilla and Arsenal. Group B.
To be fair, that's a good footballing group. Of actually getting the ball down and playing some good football. That would be quite. It's probably not a group that jumps out at you and thinks, "Oh, they'll scalp us," but it's a group that you'd probably underestimate. I think.
I agree.
The teams would be very good.
I agree there. AC Milan next. AC Milan out next.
Well, they can't go into Group C and they can't go into Group D.
So it's only E and F?
Yeah, and they could go into Group A as well with Bayern and Man United.
Based on how the screen was flashing there on the UEFA coverage, there might be a TV clash. I think it was only E and F, and they're in F with PSG and Dortmund. Yep, so AC Milan, PSG, Dortmund.
Nice. Stay away from that group, man.
Could do without that one. Although, having said that, it is a San Siro and a trip to Dortmund as well. But my God, you do not want to be on the end of 6 big defeats in that group.
This is exciting, but isn't it?
Next out, Salzburg. Because we're talking and streaming live as they're coming in, you're just trying to get a feel for the shape of some of the groups. Barca, Porto, Shakhtar, that's teams we've all faced in relatively recent years. Porto not for a while, but Barcelona relatively recently, and Shakhtar just last season, obviously.
Do you know what's exciting about it, Paul? Sorry to interrupt. What's exciting is that, remember we heard a couple of seasons ago that the league doesn't matter. Remember that part? And this is now a stem of why the league does matter. This is what it gives you. Days like this where you put your feet up and you just relax.
Even more so next season with the rejigged Champions League.
The new format, aye.
New format.
Kenny's saying in our group chat, lads, anything but Group F. Is he taking a look at Group A and Group C?
Kenny.
Oh my God.
So Lazio are in Group E with
Group
Atletico
E.
Madrid
I'll
and
just say it
Feyenoord.
right now, Paul. If we got Group B, Sevilla, Arsenal,
I think Kenny might be shouting that for the trips.
Aye.
I don't think it's maybe the
I think Group D looks favourable. I think that's quite not too bad. Benfica
Inter Milan,
Salzburg.
Copenhagen are out.
Yeah.
So this is second last team from pot 3.
This is it. The
And then we'll go
suspense
on
is
to pot
building
4,
now, lads.
where the suspense will be building every time somebody opens one of the wee Champions League balls. Sweaty palms.
I don't even notice, but are they changing the people that's doing the balls at every round?
I think Joe Cole's doing the teams and Eric Abidal's doing the groups.
Oh, are they staying that way?
That is exactly how it's working. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Joe Cole looks raging.
Group A, because Chelsea are in it. Group A is Copenhagen, Bayern Munich, and Man United. I wouldn't mind that either. Do you know that?
Aye.
Copenhagen, trip down south, and a trip to my second favourite stadium on the planet. So there you go. Braga are in Group C with Napoli and Real Madrid.
I'd take that for the pure factor of two brilliant places to go again. And Braga, Celtic are more than capable of beating Braga.
Portugal, as long as you get it early enough in the group stage, Portugal will be roasting as well. So there you go. That is pot 3 finished. Let's run through the groups as they stand. Then Group A is Bayern Munich, Man United, and FC Copenhagen. Group B is Sevilla, Arsenal, and PSV Eindhoven. Group C is Napoli, Real Madrid, and Braga. Group D is Benfica, Inter Milan, and Salzburg. Group E is Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, and Lazio. Group F is PSG, Dortmund, and AC Milan. Group H, Barcelona, Porto, and Shakhtar Donetsk. In Group G, Man City, Leipzig, and Red Star Belgrade. So if you're pushed right now, Callum, you can choose Celtic's group.
Oh,
what are you going for?
You're about to lose about how many viewers we got. The Man United Bayern Munich sounds good because of the glamour, and then you've obviously got Copenhagen in there that gives you a real chance of getting third spot. And that's the realistic way we need to go. I mean, if I was picking, is it going to be as horrible to say Real Madrid and Napoli? Is that shooting myself in the own foot? It probably is.
It's good trips. You can't argue with that.
Who's the third team in that? Sorry,
the third team in the Napoli group.
Aye,
Braga.
Who's it? Braga. I mean, that's Real Madrid, and just to see the stadium again because it will nearly be finished at the Bernabeu.
Right, here we go. Pot 4. Pot 4. They've done the wee montage of all the pot 4 teams. So we're an absolute tender hooks here. Every single ball that comes out. Joe Cole, what you got for us? I suppose it's Abidal in it. It's Abidal that will be determining the fate of the
because he's got the groups. Joe Cole's got the teams.
Groups. Right, so let's see. First team out, pot 4. Here we go. It is Real Sociedad. So Kieran Tierney's Real Sociedad. Let's see where they go. They can go A, D, G, or F, I think it is. Just a match even Celtic commit. It's horrible. Waiting on it, finding it. Right, so Real Sociedad. This is where we start eliminating the bad ones as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hopefully we start eliminating the bad ones. So Sociedad are in Group D with Benfica, Inter Milan, and Salzburg. So that rules that one out for Celtic.
That's one of the more favourable groups at all.
It is. I think Salzburg, Copenhagen, and Braga are the ones.
You seen the film Green Street? Any use?
Yeah.
Do you remember the bit where they draw Millwall and they draw? I want that reaction for Chris. Up on his table.
If we get who, but if we get Rangers,
I don't know, just anybody for the pure factor of it.
Newcastle United, there you go. Newcastle back in the competition for the first time in over 20 years.
So they can't get groups A, B.
It's a shame.
No.
Shame we couldn't get
or
Newcastle. Shame we couldn't get Newcastle. That would be the closest away trip you could ever have in the Champions League group stages. Newcastle. So they're about to find out there.
Can you imagine if they get Group C? Oof.
Newcastle are in Group F with PSG, Dortmund, and AC Milan. So that'll be no trip to the San Siro for Paul
Thank
Hayden
God.
this year. I'm not getting to the San Siro. Certainly not to see Celtic. So PSG, Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle. Group D is the other one that's complete with Benfica, Inter, Salzburg, and Sociedad. It's a blessing we can't get Group F. Galatasaray are out
Kenny.
next.
Yes, avoid the death group.
Galatasaray are out next. I mean, to be fair, that probably is. There's no very many nice ones, right enough.
I just want to avoid Group C at this point, if I'm really honest.
I watched Braga against Panathinaikos the other night. I mean, they were all right, but
Weren't they brilliant? Panathinaikos got a red card as well, didn't they?
Aye, right at the last minute though. After it was finished, Braga scored to finish the tie, and then your man gets sent off. Right, here we go. Group A. So Bayern Munich, Man United, Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. So they're rapidly disappearing. The groups left are B, E, H,
And C.
G, and C. Union Berlin are out next. You're going to end up being last out, aren't we?
Aye. And it's you already know your fate once you're last out of the last group, eh?
Takes a wee bit of the edge away, doesn't it? So, Union Berlin, Josip Juranovic's Union Berlin. See, they're looking at Leonardo Bonucci as well, did they? Where are they going? What group's getting ruled out here? Group C, Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga.
We avoided it. Brilliant.
And Union Berlin.
That's a good group, to be fair, eh?
There was absolute pandemonium when we got Real Madrid last year because we all wanted Real Madrid. I don't think it's quite going to be that fanfare this time. Next out, Young Boys.
Come on,
Young
man.
Boys of Switzerland. We're going to be last, aren't we? This is horrible.
Do you want to know the best thing, Paul, is when I went to that last year, is you seen people for the press who had maybe supported Celtic and who didn't, who was more enjoying the draw when it came in. That was quite good to watch,
the mainstream
actually.
Press, was it?
Aye, you're in with the mainstream press as well, watching it with them.
So it'll probably be Palma and Phillips that are the players today.
Probably Phillips, because Palma's English isn't great. I don't think they'll have a translator in.
Group G, so City, Leipzig, Red Star, and Young Boys.
So we're either getting Sevilla, Arsenal, PSV, or Barca, Porto, and Shakhtar.
Or Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio.
Yeah.
So we've only got one. If we would like a trip to England, we've only got one option left.
Barca, Porto, and Shakhtar seem all right.
Lons are out next. They can only go in Group B, so we're not getting Sevilla, Arsenal, and PSV. So RC Lons are in Group B.
So it's either Feyenoord, Atletico, or Lazio.
It's Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, or Lazio, or Barca, Porto, and Shakhtar the next again.
Give us it.
Celtic FC.
Come
there
on.
You go. So we're no last out. We are getting the suspense of being actually drawn.
Calling Group E
into a group.
E.
And it's Group E or H.
Come on,
Where are we going?
E.
Where are we going? Celtic are in, don't ruin it. Celtic are in UEFA Champions League. Group E with Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid and Lazio. So there you go.
Yes.
Group E, Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio and Celtic. So lads,
brilliant.
Giving us first thoughts on that.
I mean, I've just recently been to Rotterdam. Was round the Kuip.
What an atmosphere in there!
It'll be brilliant. I wasn't lucky enough to go into it, but it was just good being around it. So that's one that I'm definitely looking to get back over to. Aye, Atletico Madrid, and then Rome. By the way, just what a place Rome was last time for Celtic. Beat Lazio home and away. With Neil Lennon as manager, so I don't really feel Lazio is such. Is it still Sarri, the manager of Lazio? He's still the manager there.
Yeah,
Sarri. So he'll be too busy having a wee smoke and that to care about Champions League, isn't he?
So there you go. The groups are complete. Not that we're interested really in any other group, because Celtic's group is running along the bottom of your screen. And boys, I need to be honest, that could have been so much worse.
Oh.
So much worse. And I'm not gonna dress it up with any fantasy thoughts about trying to qualify, because it's still a very, very tough group. But it could have been a whole lot worse. The last team out were Royal Antwerp. Obviously, they went into Group H with Barcelona, Porto, and Shakhtar. Glad we didn't get Shakhtar again, to be honest. Atletico Madrid, Lazio. Lots of history of Atletico Madrid. The game in the 70s, where there was a fair bit of needle in it. They had, I think, 2 or 3 players sent off in the game at Celtic Park. After trying to kick us up and down, it was a very feisty affair. We played them in the Europa League in 2011 as well. And obviously a great history against Feyenoord, who we lost the other European Cup final that we competed in 1970. We lost it 2-1 in Milan. So great ties, absolutely great ties. Lazio, obviously the double header. We beat them back to back. We beat them both games in the Europa League back in 2019.
I mean, those are great away days.
Great away days. So many.
Madrid and Rome. Like, you can't really argue with that from a trip perspective.
Rotterdam, Madrid, and Rome, exactly.
Objectively, lads,
Amazing.
like, I don't know if there was really a better group that we could have actually landed in to be competitive, right? Like, who knows how many points we're going to take. And I'm like you, Paul, I'm not going to sit here and make ridiculous predictions and TV myself, but I hope that we're competitive in that group. That's really all you can hope for, is just to be competitive. And I'm honestly, I'm delighted we avoided Group C and Group F. Those were the 2 groups that, on paper, I really wanted to avoid.
Aye, absolutely. You want to be getting into the group, Callum, with at least a wee bit of hope. You don't want to get into one of those groups of death where it's basically 3 pot 1 teams.
Aye, so see if you look at it, right? I'm just looking at it. So forgive me if I'm actually not giving you like my attention. I'm just watching the groups above my camera. Let's be honest, Atletico Madrid will top the group more than likely. Players like Griezmann, Depay of the world, a very, very strong outfit. So in my eyes, they're favourites to be number 1, and they will be number 1. Lazio should be number 2. With the league that they come from, the finance that they have, I believe they finished 4th in the Italian league last year, so still a very strong outfit. They've just lost Milinkovic-Savic to one of the Saudi clubs. I don't know how old Ciro Immobile is, but he's a slightly older when we last played him in 2019 under Lennon. Didn't cause us too much bother then, so I don't know how much he'll cause us now, but you'd expect Lazio to be second spot, and I think it's a fight between Celtic and Feyenoord, 2 teams. Now, I don't know what the finances of Feyenoord are, but I would say Celtic are slightly higher. The revenue should be higher in what comes into Celtic than it does at Feyenoord. With them winning the league, that's still going to be a tough team to play. I think they lost one of their players. Is it Koku? His name is midfielder. He left them. He was really integral to them winning the league last year. And Feyenoord's the Dutch team that I would support, the one that I always keep my eye on and results. It's quite funny actually, because when Ange Postecoglou was getting chased for Spurs, it was obviously getting spoke about with the Feyenoord coach going there first and how he turned them down to stay. Now he's turned them down to stay to come to Celtic. So it's a funny wee circle how it works, but it will be a shootout probably between Celtic, Feyenoord and Lazio for second spot. But if I'm being, that's my heart being with my head, it should be between Celtic and Feyenoord for third spot, and Atletico Madrid should get first and Lazio should get second. But football's a funny game, and bring it on. Bring it on. There's no gigantic team in there where you just absolutely fear. Atletico Madrid are going to be hard, but I don't really see them as a team that they kind of like their 1-0s or 2-0s and then shut up short and just keep the ball away for you. So I don't really see any really scuddings in there, to be honest. Fingers crossed.
Nice to see a Rangers fan joining the group telling us we're going to get pumped. At least we're in the group draw, mate.
I needs to watch the group draw somehow, innit?
Away on your bike.
Is Emmerdale not on?
Aye.
see the fact is, right, so Rangers have now lost to PSV that finished second place in the Eredivisie of last season, right? They've strengthened by signing Lang from Club Brugge for 17-18 million pounds. PSV, fair dues they have, but Feyenoord are the team to beat in the Netherlands right now as it stands. They're number one. They're the champions, and we're the champions of this country, so it's the two champions away second against second. Scotland and PSV, obviously Rangers and PSV and Celtic. So that boy can, whoever came into the chat, enjoy it and absolutely enjoy it. It's us that are going away to the away days. Enjoy Celtic, and you can put your fingers crossed that Celtic get beat, but we'll be there. We'll be there to support in the Champions League with the big boys.
Enjoy your Thursday nights, innit?
Thursday, Sunday, catch up for 5 months in the Scottish League. Oh, enjoy it.
Right, boys. So that is it. Group E, Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio and Celtic. As you say, Callum, I'm content with it because there's no massive elite top 5 club in the world there, which you always fear, and you never want to end up in a group of death. There's no doubt it's going to be extremely, extremely tough. And again, reiterate what I said at the start of the video, if we can scrape third, we'll have a really, really good campaign and we should be happy with it. I want to get your thoughts before we go on the transfer business. Callum, will come to you because Chris did touch a wee bit on transfers earlier. So Lewis Palmer's in the door, winger, which I think was much needed. £3.5 million, 5-year contract. Nat Phillips is in on a short-term loan until January 1st. Much needed cover at centre half because the injuries have absolutely killed us there. What do you make of those deals?
Look, since Saturday, football's a mad game. Honestly, it's a mad game, and I'm not going to preach it to everybody. Everybody knows what it is, but Saturday it was like World War III had erupted, and social media was just a great place to watch it with your eyes and take it in of both sides of Glasgow, and how quickly football can change in the matter of a couple of days, and the positivity and how that works. But what I would say for that is, I think it's a very, very shrewd bit of business for Celtic getting Nat Phillips in. Now, I'm going to be very careful what I say here, because last time I done this and you asked me online, we were talking about Shane Duffy. It didn't go very well. So I'll be very careful on me not bigging Phillips up too much. But what I know about Phillips is that he is a good defender overall. He's not great on the ball. That is one thing. One of my close friends, Andy, is a Liverpool fan. He kind of gave me a wee bit of an update on him. He's somebody that's not great on the ball, but he's very good in the air. He'll be Celtic's best defender in the air, even with Carter Vickers and Naroshki. He is very good in the air. He loves a tackle. He puts his head in where it hurts. If you look at his injury list, he's had 3 injuries in his career at 26 years old. And I think all 3 are head injuries. So it tells you that he puts his head in where it hurts. I think it's a very good bit of business with the situation that we're in. I just think it is really good. He came into Liverpool, and I think it was maybe 2019 or 2020, and was a major factor on Liverpool getting top 4 when they had an injury crisis. Like they had everybody out, playing Fabinho in the back with Phillips as well. So I think it's a good bit of business. Lewis Palmer, on the other hand, I think he could be a really good player as well. I was watching his interview talking about he spoke to Emilio Asagiri and stuff like that, talking about how the club is and how he can fit in, stuff like that. He's a free kick specialist. I've seen some of his videos as well, where he's he scored some great free kicks as well. So I think he goes straight into the team on Sunday with Phillips. I think the two of them going to. I think the boy Paolo Bernardo, if he gets over the line, I don't think he'll go straight into the team. I think it will be a trusted McGregor, O'Reilly, and I think he might even go with somebody like maybe Connor or what. I don't think he'll go with Turnbull, or he might go with Home. But I think Lewis Palmer will start. I've got a strong feeling it will be Lewis Palmer on the left. He'll be thrown in solo and Nat Phillips. And I think it gives us a little bit of more belief and a little bit stronger look that the favourites are Rangers. They're at home. They've got every single fan there rooting for them. They're under massive pressure now. We're getting scudded off of PSV. They're a point behind us in the league. And we're going into the international break. So everything points to Rangers have to win this game. Probably more than Celtic do. If Celtic come out with a draw, it's not that bad considering how many players are out injured. Key players like Hatatis and Carter Vickers and the Roshkis. We've only got Kyogo up front, so we don't have a lot to change up front either. So a lot of it is in favour of Rangers. That's just the way it is. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, is it since the crowds have changed to no away fans, the away team has not won at any of these games. Is that correct in me saying that?
No away fans.
So if Celtic go to Ibrox, we've never won at Ibrox since the away fan allocation's been cut, to 0. And I believe Rangers haven't won at Celtic Park with 0 fans in the stadium either.
We've won a couple of times with the 700, but
but without 0.
We've not played that many games with 0, but aye.
Aye, so it kind of feels like
it's a huge advantage for the home team.
Oh, of course it is. Aye. It's just momentum, and especially when games are 0-0, fans at the home side can obviously give their team a real push to kind of put Rangers back or put Celtic back, whatever way you're looking at it. But everything looks in Rangers' favour. Let's be honest, right? It does. But I've seen worse teams go to Ibrox and win. I remember Neil Lennon's team against Gerrard in 2019 with Johnny Hayes scoring. It wasn't a great game. Edwards scored first and then Johnny Hayes got second. I can remember other teams when we had Paddy McCourt and Samaras up front. We had Scott Brown and Gary Hooper, likes of that, up in the stands, in the Broomloan stand, watching on. We 1-2-0 that game. So there's many games. These games are not played on form, and both teams are ranked rotten right now. That's to be fair. Both teams are rotten. Celtic need to, from our point of view, need to start taking chances when they come along. I don't want to see Kyogo sitting back 25, 30 yards for goal. I want him on the shoulder. Goldson's not going to be in a great headspace with absolute calamity.
And behind Tavernier. We need to get behind Tavernier.
Rangers are really poor, and this isn't me targeting Rangers, or just me being going against them, but they're really poor at crosses and set pieces, Rangers. And I think Nat Phillips, again, is very good bit of business to come in and trouble Rangers at corners. I feel like we're quite
problem
poor.
There is it's no one of our strengths either, is it, attacking set pieces?
Exactly, we're not very great, but I think with that, we've got to test Rangers. Looking at the goals that they conceded last night, 4 out of 5 are from crosses from out wide and swung in. Rangers are really difficult. That's why Rangers don't concede penalties, because they just concede goals instead. That's why there's no people go, Rangers never have penalties. It's because nobody gets into the box. They whip the ball in for 30, 40 yards out and they just get a goal for it instead. So Celtic need to take that motto into Sunday. And look, it's a big game, but with the 2 transfers, I do feel more confident. And I seen O was back in training as well. The little footage Celtic brought out as well. So look, we're going into it, and I think slightly there's more pressure on Rangers, I would say, going into the game than there is on Celtic. But again, hopefully we go out for the win, nothing less, get the 3 points and extend it to 4 points.
Hopefully, yeah. I think that the signings are big for us. I think we need to get another at least 1 or 2 done before tomorrow night. I think Phillips really helps us though, because I think Scales at centre half, Lagerbielke has just come in the door, but Scales I think struggled a bit, particularly on the ball, and I know it'll be a different game on Sunday to being at home against St Johnstone, but there was 1 or 2 times where St Johnstone attackers got the better of Liam Scales in the second half, so I think Phillips is really going to help us in this short-term period.
See if you could...
Palmer might be in with, I think Palmer might be in with a shout. Palmer could be in with a shout, because I don't think anybody out wide has really nailed their place down with their performances.
I don't feel like we've got a ball carrier as such. You could say Abada, but he's hot and cold in spells. So I don't feel like we have that player that when the pressure's on us, when the crowd's on us, but it's still 0-0. And you feel the momentum's maybe on Rangers' side. You need somebody that can take the ball and just attract a foul. Attract that little bit to get up the park. I think Palmer's got that from the small footage that I've seen on him. I think he does have that. So for me, I would put him in the team and just see how he gets on. I mean, look, nothing's going to be won or loss on Sunday. Whether Celtic win and go 4 points clear, the title's still not over. And if Celtic lose and Rangers go 2 points clear, the title's still not over. But we're only going to be in the start of September. There's a long way to go. Rangers have been top of the league over previous seasons in January when it comes to that fixture, Boxing Day type. And Rangers have proved that they've crumbled at those spells. So there's a long way to go. I wouldn't get panicked about it or whatever way it goes. And that's not a cop-out answer to kind of cover me. It's just the reality of where it is. But I was going to ask you, Paul, if you could pick, because it feels like everybody that's in and watching this now is probably screaming at the telly going, a left-back, striker and a goalkeeper. There's your 3 positions. Celtic, ideally, if you want the perfect window to get all 3 in, but if you can only have one of those 3, what area are you picking out of those 3 to bring in?
Probably left back, because I think it's too late to bring in a goalkeeper at this late in the window. Is a hard one to bring in. Just throw him into the team, just throw him into the team at the last minute, because I think goalkeeper's one of those positions when you've got a relationship with defence. I know defence has much changed recently because of injuries, but I don't see he's bringing in a goalkeeper in the last day of the window and putting him straight in. So I think left back's the only other one. Striker, yes, you could argue we need more depth there. You see when O's out injured, we've only really got Maeda to switch up and go through the middle, if anything happened to Kyogo. But I think Kyogo's such a stick-on starter for us that left back is the one where we really could improve. Bernabei's not done enough to really put himself in contention of starting and displacing Greg Taylor, and Taylor hasn't had a great start to the season. So I think left back, but I hope we get this Bernardo loan deal over the line from Benfica, because we need something else in midfield, particularly with Tati out. That's a big worry for me, midfield on Sunday, a huge worry, because McGregor, O'Reilly, Turnbull, McGregor's not really in great form so far this season. O'Reilly and Turnbull too similar, too slow for what we might need in terms of the intensity in the midfield battle on Sunday. And if you put somebody else in, it's somebody else that hasn't kicked a ball. Iwata, Home, Kwon. Like, the options are really sparse in terms of putting somebody else in. So I'm concerned about midfield, but I think left back's the one if I was pushed. As long as we get Bernardo in, left back's the one.
I would tend to opt to go for a left back as well. I think Taylor's really struggling to go back to the way that he used to play at Kilmarnock and Bernabei. I think Celtic would be good if they could actually get him back out the door and recoup as much money as possible. I mean, the goalkeeper is an interesting one at the start. I thought that was priority to change. And now, with the way the season's panned out, it kind of feels like it's the last issue that we kind of need to sort. But again, it doesn't really happen often, but we did do it with Fraser Foster a couple of seasons ago. He came in and played in that game, the 2-0 game under Lennon. Yeah. We signed him during the midnight game, and he get unveiled when Craig Gordon was in goals, I remember. So I doubt that it will happen as well. But I left back would be a great position. And you know, I'd quite like a tall, physical left back. I'd like somebody. I feel like recently our fullbacks, like you look at the line of Juranovic, Alistair Johnson's powerful, but he's still quite small for a fullback. Greg Taylor, Bernabei, Bolingoli, none of them are really physically in height, because a lot of teams, I feel, target us sometimes. They just go long and pin it into the corner of either side, whoever's playing. So I'd maybe like to see a big physical left back come in, somebody that's got a lot of pace, like Alistair Johnson, somebody that's up and down that line. That's going to be pivotal to a Brendan Rodgers team, I think, especially in Europe, against obviously the likes of now that we know, Madrid, Lazios and Feyenoords. You're going to need somebody that's good on the ball technically, but somebody that can almost take a tackle. I felt last season we get bullied a little bit, especially in the fullbacks area with Juranovic. I remember the Shakhtar game away in Poland. He got caught out and he just couldn't catch Mudryk in time. And now look at Mudryk in the Premier League. He's going to get a goal. So there's wee small times that we can just make ourselves a little bit better. I think left back's the key area that will help us. So fingers crossed, Celtic are looking at a few options. I think they will be. There'll be a list of maybe 4 left backs, and they'll be trying to get the top one. If they can't, they'll go to the second, and so on if that happens. So hopefully by the time tomorrow night happens that we've got a left back, we feel more comfortable. And do you know what? Bring on Sunday. I am looking forward to it. Football's a brilliant game. I think a couple of days ago I was really looking forward to it, but now there's just a bit of a more good feel factor. We know that we're not going into Ibrox with William Scales at centre back. And that's not me picking on the boy. It's just he's inexperienced at that level and he doesn't breed confidence. So getting Big Phillips in, I think, is definitely going to help. 6'3", is a big bit of a frame and a unit. So with Rangers whipping balls in, which they love to do, I don't think now Celtic will struggle as much as what I think they would have if they didn't have Phillips in there.
I think, as somebody said in that interview, was I'm just an out-and-out defender. Like, my job's to keep the ball at the net, and I think that will help us, because you think about the big wins we've had at Ibrox in recent seasons, and Carter Vickers and Starfelt defending the box, clearing cross balls, getting their head on everything. So I think he will really help us if he comes into the team on Sunday. Right, there you go, folks. That is it. Celtic are in Group E in the Champions League with Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid and Lazio. It's going to be interesting to see how the next day or so unfolds in the transfer window. Albion Ayeti left the club today, so it'd be good to maybe get one or two more fringe players out. But as I say, we'd like to get a couple more deals done as well. So thank you for joining us in this live stream. Thank you to Callum and to Chris, who dropped earlier because I think he had to get back to work. It's still the middle of the office day in Canada. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you very soon for the build up to that big derby on Sunday. Cheers.